Welcome to Co-op Mode, round 80. This is the official video game podcast of Secret Friends Unite. I am Todd Oxtra, one of your hosts in beautiful Savage, Minnesota, joined by Mark, the Korean Carabin, who puts U's where apparently they usually don't belong. Carabin, how are you doing, bud?
That is when spell check or autocorrect doesn't catch me, then something's gonna happen. Is that one of those Canadian British words that has a U in it, like color, honor? Like is that
Correct.
one of those? Because I
Correct.
didn't even think twice, and then you called me on the random U in there, and I was like, I thought that was right because, like I said, autocorrect didn't catch anything, but now I'm not so sure. You're making me second guess myself here.
No, and Sean Capri completely reiterated exactly what you did. So I think it's an agreement, or maybe your cell phone providers, they just put it in there. It's like a Canadian centric thing.
Right. Let's look that up. Yeah, so it's yeah, you can spell it. It seems like the British and American spelling.
Are there any other weird Canadian, like, not weird, but I mean Canadian specific, like grammar things that are unique that I need to be aware of, Mark?
That would be unique. I'm sure there are. Like I said, color is another one. There's a U in color that most Americans wouldn't put there. Z instead of Z.
Yeah.
Which I always, it makes me think of the game Galaxy. It was like a shooter game, and when that came out, I made a tweet that the company and the developer actually liked. It was something along the lines of like Galaxy, or as it's known in Canada, Galax Z. And I have the vinyl soundtrack for that game, and I don't own a record player, so that's a weird. I don't know how I just got off on that tangent. Anyway, yeah, so I'm sure there are more, but I won't. Yeah, we will go down that unprepared rabbit hole as I'm rambling on.
Oh, this is our cultural exchange of the day, Mark. Come on. Yeah, it's, what did you want to know? Folks, if you want to know anything about Canada or the U.S., you have your questions, ask me or Mark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Minnesota's practically southern Canada as it is. So, we do have our weird, funny accents. So we'll go from there, Mark, to why we're here today to talk about video games. There's a lot going on in the world of video games, apparently, in January. It's boring. We got to make this exciting. People have to buy things. But, Mark, I want to talk about the fun part about this Activision Activision merger, acquisition, whatever you want to call it. The fact is, we are hopefully going to get the return of some awesome franchises.
Mm-hmm.
And this leads me into this week's buy, rent, return. And it's going to be Crash Bandicoot, Skylanders, and Guitar Hero. Now, I almost want Spyro, but I'm like, Skylanders is kind of Spyro, so we'll go from there.
If there's another, say when I first saw these three, like Crash just got a new game.
Mm-hmm.
Spyro got the remastered trilogy, but yeah, I think you're right on this one. So I understand your choices.
I mean, unless there's another like long forgotten franchise. I mean, I didn't put Tony Hawk in here.
They just got the remake as well.
That's true.
A new Tony Hawk game would be pretty solid.
Yeah, somebody was joking around that now they want, like, instead of Smash Bros or Mario Kart, they called it Crash Pro Skater Party, and essentially everybody skateboards. So Master Chief is on the half pipe and doing his thing. Come on, Mark, it'd be awesome.
I like it. That'd be amazing. I'd pick that game up.
Do like two people on a skateboard, like a longboard. They could like do funny tricks and things, and you could throw. I don't know, what would they throw? Would they throw? I mean, it's not mushrooms and
no, they wouldn't throw
shells.
things. They just shoot you.
Ah, okay, got it.
Master Chief and the dudes from like Call of Duty just shooting each other on skateboards.
Perfect. Yeah. Bloodstorm.
Yeah.
Razor hail, as if they say in yours.
Sure. Yeah.
Exactly.
Sounds very much like a
add your own sound effects. Yeah. So we're starting there. Crash, Skylanders, and Guitar Hero. So, Mark, these franchises, where do you stand?
This is a tough one. Let's start with the return, and I think I'm going to go with Crash for the return. simply because, like I said, he did just get a new game. So if we're going to be refreshing some franchises and getting these up in Microsoft land, then return that one. And yeah, the tough is Skylanders versus Guitar Hero, and I think, oh man, this is tough because I right now I'm gonna say that I would rent Skylanders because those games are like fun, but like not too much replayability once you finish them. You kind of go through the story, you level up your Skylanders. You can go back and keep leveling up your Skylanders or whatever, and you know, it's fine. But I think that that's a good rental period kind of game. Now, talk to me in a couple of years when Finn's interested in playing games, and that could change because I think they're fun, like family kind of fun games for kids and that kind of stuff, or just like playing with family. So that means the buy is going to be Guitar Hero because it's kind of endlessly replayable. You can just pick that up and keep going and parties and whether you're just bored by yourself and you want to go through the campaign mode, or you're have some friends over or some family or whatever and you just want to bust out Guitar Hero and have a good time. I think Guitar Hero is such an endlessly replayable game and so expandable with so many songs and different tracks and artists and all that kind of stuff that I think Guitar Hero is a good buy. Yeah, I loved that series too. Like, so I'd love to see it come back.
Well, Mark, this is where we're going to go with my own. I actually agree with everything you said.
What? That
Crash,
doesn't happen.
I know. Crash 4 was the first Crash game I really actually enjoyed. The other Crashes I like played a little bit and like, ugh. I mean, I played them on PlayStation, but it was like I always had their problems with them. Like, the controls didn't feel right, or it's like I just missed that. It just missed something. Like the Crash like remasters, they still felt like a fresh coat of paint, and they still had a lot of the same problems I always had with the
Oh,
Crash games.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, but 4, I absolutely did you play the most recent Crash game?
No, no, I got the trilogy and I was just, like you said, it was kind of a fresh coat of paint on some old stuff. So I was just kind of like, yeah, I'm crashed out for a bit. And every time it goes on sale, I'm like, yeah, I should really pick that up. I should really pick that up. And then I pick up something else. So I'm going to have to get Crash 4 eventually. It's just on that list that keeps getting pushed down, but it will happen.
It's fantastic. I really loved it, and it felt like a modern Crash game, which is fantastic. Exactly what I wanted, and I just love that game. So that was a surprise from last year, which I really enjoyed. Yeah. So so that would be a return, just because, as you said, already played it. And it's been touched a lot, so it's something where, yep, that's fine. But Skylanders has a special place in my heart because my son was at the perfect age for all of the toys to life, Mark. We had so much plastic crap in our house. All the different, we had it for the Game Boy, and then or no, I guess it was the DS at
The
the time.
3DS for Skylanders.
3DS at the time, yeah. We had that. We had all the little portals. We had it on, I think, all on PlayStation. I think maybe 360. I can't remember, but we had everything. I think we got up to. I think we stopped at Superchargers. I don't think we went to Superchargers.
That was the nice thing with Toys to Life, if I may interject for a second,
Sure.
because the physical toys you could bring through multiple systems,
Mm-hmm.
and the levels and your characters, your customization stayed with that toy. So you could jump from 3DS to
Well, yeah.
PlayStation to Xbox to wherever. And I did. I went 3DS, Xbox 360, Wii U, I think for some, and now I just bought that one a few months ago on my Series X through Xbox One compatibility. So that was one nice thing about Skylanders is it followed you through based on the toy, not based on any kind of weird
No.
system requirement, which was really,
Yeah,
really cool.
maintained all of its save data and all the
Physical cross save.
experience, which was great. It was like, I don't even know it didn't use NFC, it used something, but it was very cool. Yeah, it was a very cool technology at the time, and it
Mhm.
was the originator of the Toys to Life market, and they created all these original characters. So cool! I thought the designs were great. I just really enjoyed it. The personalities, I just thought it was much better than it ever should have been for a cash grab, because that's what it was over time. But they continued improving the game, so I thought it was a great series. And obviously, I think we only own a few left over, that we have left from when Logan purged, because he's 16 now. But yeah, it was great, and I hope we get one of my predictions was that we would get a Skylanders collection with everything unlocked. So maybe it'll come to fruition, Mark. Maybe I was a little bit foresight to see this happen, but I think this might be happening, and this might be a payback for Nintendo, for Xbox giving Nintendo all those cool things. Maybe they get the once again Skylanders are revisited by Mario Team. Remember that game with what was it, Superchargers, that had Donkey Kong and
Bowser.
Yeah, so maybe they get to come back.
Mm-hmm.
That would be cool. That'd be nice of them to do that. And then Guitar Hero. You're absolutely right. It is the party game that doesn't stop. Everybody could play this game. They could just sing along eventually. If you weren't good at guitar, if the guitar, you sing and you just have a good time and you drink and you make a fool out of yourself. I got Sean Nias and my buddy Brian. He doesn't even play games at all, but we got to play and we had such a fun time doing it. This was like our party game and we absolutely loved it. It was more Rock Band than Guitar Hero, because Guitar Hero was always felt like a little harder and a little bit more solo player focused until later. But yeah, it was always Rock Band. But I love Guitar Hero for like the boss challenges and things like that. So much fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that was it seemed to be two camps for a while. You were either a Guitar Hero player or a Rock Band player, and that was it. And you didn't cross. And I was 100% like Guitar Hero was my jam, and I loved that single player aspect of it. But yeah, you're totally right that once it opened up and became more like Rock Band, it was so much more fun to have people over. So I think Rock Band was more for like you said, anyone to enjoy, but like Guitar Hero for me has a very special place because that's the one that I like got me into that kind of music game, and that's for whatever reason the one I stuck with. And yeah, I really want those to come back.
And who's got enough money to pay for licensing? Microsoft. So
Hell
get those
yeah.
songs back. That would be fantastic. But yeah, I think this is really cool. There's so many more franchises to talk about, so we will get into that as we now move into what we've been playing, Mark. So you've been playing some games.
I have been playing some games, and a couple that we got review codes for. So I'm gonna start off with Rainbow Six Extraction, and thank our friends over at Ubisoft Canada for sending this one. So Rainbow Six Extraction, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Extraction is the full name. This was developed by Ubisoft Montreal, and is a continuation of the Rainbow Six games. This one is a departure. So I don't know how many people listening read or have read Tom Clancy novels. I have. I'm a big fan. My grandfather got me into those books, and Rainbow Six is one of my favorite Clancy novels. And this series I've been playing since like the N64 days. It was very, very simplistic, but still kind of cool to see it go off. And that's probably around the same time that I read the book. So like it was kind of, trying to strategically pick my teams and pick access points and routes to tackle missions and stuff like that. And that was the thing with that game back in the day, was like, you can send one team here and then you go off with your team this way. And there's, specific call to actions and points, or you could just have them run through and kind of go off on their own and do whatever. This is very different. And I wasn't sure if I was going to like it at first, because it was like, why are they taking the Rainbow Six, which has been very grounded? If you've watched like Jack Ryan or any of those kind of things, like that's usually how grounded this stuff is. Like it's still in that universe. So taking that universe and then throwing in an alien parasite monster Archeon attack was like, when I first saw it, it was like, why are they doing this? Why isn't this a different franchise? Why aren't they doing this with a non-established franchise that, I don't know, maybe it seems more conducive to aliens? I guess for me, it's like that's not really what Rainbow Six has been about, and not really um, what that part of the Clancy verse is usually about. But I have to say, this game won me over, and that was not easy. Like I said, I've got quite the history with this series, and for me to like watch the intro and be like, okay, this is still kind of weird, and then get into it, and it's like, okay, well, it's still a multinational team. There's still an anti-terrorist organization, but this time the terrorist is from outer space or underground or wherever they end up, kind of coming from, because it's both, like whatever. But it's still like multinational. You still have like similar characters, not the exact same, because it's years later or whatever. This game won me over. I don't know what to say. It's good. It still feels, and I think that's the big thing. It feels like a Rainbow Six game, which if you haven't played Rainbow Six games in a bit, or you've never played them or whatever, like this is still some of the tightest, greatest first person shooter kind of games that you will get. The controls are really, really good, really customizable. So basically what you do, it's like 3-man fire teams, and you have to do different objectives and go through, different places, and everything's kind of procedurally generated, which is neat. So you can't really plan things out. So
Sure.
what's nice about it is each person has their own role, and you get to pick your operator at the start, and hopefully you get a good balanced team. I personally like when I can be kind of the med role, which is not a role that I usually pick in different games, but for this, it really, really comes in handy. But there's also like, you can send out drones, or you're kind of there's all those usual kind of classes that really tie in well to, again, a good mix of like traditional Rainbow stuff, and like, what would a team like this do to tackle an alien threat? So I gotta hand it to the team. They won me over with how well thought out, and how well it actually ended up fitting into the Rainbow Six kind of stuff, like where they take that kind of team, an anti-terrorist team, and they say like, how would this team react to this kind of stuff? So again, basically you team up, and so far the matchmaking's been great online. It's been perfect. And you go through with your fire team, and you complete the objectives. Between the objectives, if you are taking a lot of damage, or you just feel like you're done, you can call for an extraction point, and you don't get as much reward. So there's 3 kind of tiers to the levels or whatever. And you can choose to bail out at the start. You can choose to bail out. You've completed 2 objectives. The third one looks a little tough. I'm hurting. I'm out of ammo. I'm low on this. I'm low on that. Let's bail. And you can bail. But of course you want to try, and you want to keep pushing yourself to go through, right? What I like I said, I mentioned that I like being the support role, that healer kind of role in this. However, they don't let you get stuck with one character or one role, because if you take a certain amount of damage while you're playing, that character has to sit out. It says they're injured, they're out for a little bit. Yeah. So it kind of forces you to mix it up, which I really, really enjoy, because I'm really bad for that, like finding one character that I'm kind of good with. And that was a complaint with games like Destiny or something like that, where I'd pick something, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I like the Titan. Cool. Yeah, I can punch my way through things. It feels like Master Chief. Let's go. It's like I never even try other classes, right? And it was the same thing with like Anthem. It's like, okay, I found the one that I liked. Let's just go for it. So this kind of forces you to pick different operators, and mix up through your team, and level up different people, and that kind of stuff. So I really like that. But again, it doesn't do it in a cheap, weird way. It does it like, yeah, you kind of got your ass kicked. This person needs to sit down and take a breather. You're sending someone else out. Let's go. So it's kind of neat that way. And if you die, you have to send a team, or another team has to go and extract you, and you're basically MIA. That character is MIA until they pull you out.
Hmm.
And those missions that you do are really hectic and really fun because you basically have one person pulling the person out of, it's kind of like a tree pod kind of thing that's sucking in the other player. It has them in like a kind of stasis kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to shoot all these like tendrils and stuff. And like one person's trying to pull the person out and the other two are kind of like doing these like mission objectives and trying to defeat this kind of mini boss tree pod thing. And
Mm-hmm.
there's other, aliens throughout the stage. It's good, man. I'm probably like all over the place in this, but it's coming to me like as I've been trying to play it and,
Sure.
and get my thoughts in order and stuff. But it's good. Like for that's the best thing I can say is for this game to completely win me over the way it has is impressive. Cause I was like, this should just be called Extraction. Like ditch the Rainbow Six, ditch the
Exactly.
Clancy name.
Yeah.
This should just be called Extraction or like anything else. And now I'm like, yeah, let's get my team. Let's go. Rainbow. Let's do this.
Yeah, it kind of
So
made
it's,
sense that it might go
yeah,
to like the Division, because the Division's in a world already with a weird like
yeah.
virus kills people, and we're like that could be like a mutant race that came from that and would make sense. But
Mhm.
yeah, so this is so when I looked at the game, I haven't been able to play. I have an issue on PC Game Pass right now with Ubisoft, because on Ubisoft they're making you do the Ubisoft Connect and use
Right.
that interface, kind of like
Yep.
EA Play, the same way, where you have to go through the EA app through that. So it's like a secondary group of games. It's not specifically in it. It's a little funky. I'm trying to
Mhm.
get there. They're going to hopefully connect to my right Xbox account. I don't know why,
Yeah.
what's going on, because my old one I had to abandon. So who knows? But this looked like a interesting take on Back for Blood or Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
But this is what, 3-player, and like you said,
Mhm.
it's more of the type of class based, versus those other games have largely been like you look different but you're all the same. So this one at
Mhm.
least taking the core elements of that in the Rainbow Six universe. So yeah, I'm hearing good things about this game. So, and it seems like the perfect game to go into Game Pass, because they want a big audience to come in and get into it, and that's the best way to do it. So I'm gonna check
Mhm.
it out. You said you're looking for a crew, Mark. So you know what?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
great at being carried. So
And that's the main thing right now is I've been just doing, for the most part, leading up to this, and this weekend I was pretty busy. So once it hit Game Pass and I had the
mhm.
actual opportunity to be like, hey, let's do some matchmaking, I couldn't. So
Yeah.
leading up to it actually releasing to the public, and I had it a few days prior, it was just kind of like random matchmaking, I guess. So let's
Yeah.
just go. So and like I said, that's been working. It's been working really
That's
well.
great
I
to
have
hear.
not
That's your
had
worst case scenario, right? If that's fun,
exactly.
then
Yeah.
it's only going to get better with friends. Yeah.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
So if you're looking to play this, if you have it, if you have Game Pass, there is crossplay. So if you're playing this in PlayStation Land or on PC, still hit us up in the Discord, hit me up on Twitter. I want to get some fire teams going and really wreck through this game. So so let's play, because it's been a while since I've been this hooked on a Rainbow Six game,
Cool.
and I'm very happy to be back. Like I said, this series has been special to me. My grandfather, who passed away last year, left me a bunch of his Clancy novels. So very uh, very close world to me. And for like I said, man, for this going into this, I was like, don't mess with my Clancy. Like just it don't do it. And like I'm happy to say that it works. I don't know how, but it works, and I'm happy that it does. So Game Pass, download this one. It's good. Let's play.
Very, very cool. Yeah, that's neat that we're getting these day and dates. This is the first with Ubisoft we've had. Like Ubisoft
Yeah.
largely has not been in part of Game Pass, but we saw that they are launching Ubisoft Plus. It's not going to be in Game Pass, but you are going to have that platform coming to consoles now.
Mhm.
So it's like crazy, and that's kind of like we'll talk about kind of the impact of subscription services later. But very, very
Yeah.
cool.
This seemed to be like the hey, we'll give you Rainbow Six if you let Ubisoft
Plus, yeah, come to
Plus
platform.
on Xbox.
Yeah.
And whatever the background dealings were, I'm happy because hopefully it means there's going to be more people active in this game and willing to try it out and that kind of stuff. And um, yeah, it's cool. And so far, like the microtransactions haven't been like there's skins and stuff that you can buy, but it's all just
Yeah.
cosmetic. And also if you are playing this game and you have your Twitch account linked up, you can get some skins, some exclusive Twitch skins. So make sure you link that up. And to your point with the Ubisoft rewards, there's some stuff in there. So make sure you do link when you do link your rewards. Check out the rewards because you can get some like skins and different things through Ubisoft Connect. So lots of cool ways to customize your character, and it comes with some cool customizations like right off the bat. But then of course you can buy more. So yeah, I'm sure you're going to be seeing some people rocking some pretty crazy skins in this and making their characters look different. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah, love it, love it. Again, exciting. It's a good launch beginning of the year where it's usually downtime. This is a cool game to get people into it, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of definitely opening up the year to new stuff. So
Yeah.
very cool, Mark. So I had to ask you about this next game, Mark, because I thought you were playing an old Wii game. I'm like, what are you playing here? I don't know what this
Which
game is.
so the one I've been playing is Mushroom Men 2. What was the Wii game? We just talked about this. We went
Mushroom
through
Men. Was it Mushroom Men?
Mushroom Men. So I've been playing
No.
Mushroom Wars 2. And
Yes.
we were talking. So the Mushroom Men, not associated. So Mushroom Wars 2, I have been playing. This is another code that we got from Evolve PR over at terminals.io. So thank you very much for this one. So this game was made by Zillion Whales, and was originally, I believe, released for iOS and Android, I
I could
think,
see it. I could
and
see
is
it. Yeah.
new on consoles, or at least where I'm playing it, or where I've been playing it is Xbox, and PlayStation and Switch. I think are out as well. So right now, this is out for pretty much everything, or at least coming out for everything. If it's not out there already, basically, this game is kind of an RTS kind
Tower
of
defense,
tower
right?
defense ish kind of game.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Um, so it's pretty straightforward, and it's you've got your little mushroom men, and you kind of command your troops and try to best the other troops as you're taking over territory, and you can take over like there's usually kind of neutral mushroom buildings in on the map. So you kind of start off with one each, and then you have to take over more of the other person, or before the other person does. And yeah, just kind of like balance between taking over and not leaving your other buildings exposed. Because if you, let's say you have 20 troops and you send all, in one building, and you send 19 of them to try to take over another building, well, that leaves that one person in one building open to take over. So yeah, don't do that. You have to really kind of decide how things go. The one kind of downside I will say to this game is the downside to any console RTS game, which is buttons and sticks instead instead of just pointing and
Hmm.
clicking with a mouse. So I think this game would
Okay.
actually work really well on iOS or Mac or Windows or whatever. On Xbox, it works. It's just it doesn't feel ideal all the time. They do make some things work, like instead of moving your control stick and waiting for a little cursor or something, a lot of times it will jump. It will guess which building you're trying to point at, and will jump. But that's also caused some headaches at sometimes when I'm trying to send uh, you know some of my horde to this building, and this building, and I accidentally click one of the wrong buildings, and there's no like cancel button that I've seen so far. And maybe I just kind of skipped through that part of the tutorial or something. But There's no like, no, don't go there, go here instead. So they have to cross the map depending on how far you sent them. They have to cross the map, get to the building that you accidentally pressed on, hope that they can take that over, or it's one of your buildings already, because if it's an enemy building that's well fortified, you could possibly lose that whole squad. And then you could kind of leave yourself open to just bad strategy. So it's a tough. It can be tough, actually. It's not one of those like, easy kind of like iOS tower defense games. Like there's some real strategy to this, which I love. And
Nice.
if you're a fan of RTS games, if you're a fan of whatever Halo Wars and all those kind of stuff, like we don't get those often on console, and this one's like pretty good. Like it holds up. Aside from those little nitpicking kind of things, I've been really enjoying this game. And there's a pretty light story. It kind of introduces, like, it seems like there was an ice age or something that wiped out most life on Earth or whatever, and these little mushroom people kind of took over, and now you're kind of in their war. So that's pretty much as much story.
They ended up eating all the people who ended up eating, who normally would eat the mushrooms.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. That's my story.
But there are some like fun little cutscenes and stuff, and some fun. Even though the story is light, you do get weird, like fun little personalizations or characterizations of like little bugs that like come through as like warning, like, oh no, they're invading, and then like, dies on the table, and you're like, no, mosquito brother. It's like funny little stuff like that, and like weird mushroom necromancer type people. Like it's there's some funny stuff to it. Like it's got a lot of personality, more than I would have expected from like an iOS to console port kind of thing. So it's fun, man. I like it. If, like I said, if you're a fan of RTS games, we don't get many on console. So try this one out, pick it up. It's
Yeah,
pretty solid.
as Samuel L. Jackson said in Pulp Fiction, personality goes a long way, Mark.
Yeah. As you keep going in this game, so far my playthrough has been just kind of like going through the story beats, but as you keep going, you do unlock hero characters, which add more powers. You do start to get more powers as you progress. So it starts off very simple, of like, take over this building, take over that building. And as you progress, it teaches you more and more and more, like any kind of really good RTS game or like good game really should, I guess, where you get powers. You can fortify your buildings. You can make your troops go faster. You can do this, do that. So it really, yeah, like it really kind of keeps growing. And the second that you get comfortable with one thing, they throw something else in there. So like I said, sometimes you have to be like, okay, do I hold in L or do I hold in R, or do I hold in which face button do I send? Oh, okay. Is it X or Y that sends like 50% of my troops? No. Shoot, that's the wrong button. I just sent all of my troops instead. So it's that kind of stuff that like sometimes I wish I had like a guide in front of me, and I'm sure I could pause and like look at it.
Yeah, look at the all the reminder of your controls. Yeah,
right. So there were some instances of that, but again, I don't know if that's game error or human error of just me trying to play Rainbow Six Extraction and this game.
Sure.
And then switching. My next game that I'm going to talk about is Banjo Kazooie for the N64 Online, which is a completely different controller setup without two sticks, and an N64 style controller with C buttons and everything else. So my controller mapping the last couple of weeks in my brain has been just a mess.
Oh, so, I can agree with you, Mark. Yeah, switching between consoles and things like that. Yeah, it definitely. And then games, and it's like taking a break from games too. Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't remember how to even play this game. It's been 2 months, or it's been a week. Yeah,
right. And so the nice thing about this is, this game, it's simple enough that if you do take a break for a couple of days, like I did, and then played Rainbow Six Extraction and said, no, I need to play more Mushroom Men and really kind of give that a go. Or Mushroom Wars. Sorry, I'm back to the Mushroom Men. I'm like in my own head about this Wii game that we started talking about.
I screwed you up, Mark. Sorry.
So Mushroom Wars. yeah, so it's easy enough to understand that you can leave it for a couple of days and go
Sure.
back. Um, but again, when you start getting the powers and the heroes and the this and that, whatever, it's like, ah, shit. What was I trying to do here? What
Yep.
button is this? But like the basics of like just, you know what, holding this and just spam send your characters. Like you can get through it just with the bare minimum stuff pretty easily, and you'll catch on to the rest. So, again, that's you know, the quick kind of review for that. But like, if you're an RTS fan or even like a tower defense fan, whatever, mix of both, like pick this one up. It's worthwhile.
Nice.
Yeah. Like I said, Banjo Kazooie is the last one I've been playing. N64 Online uh, just dropped, and then they announced that we're going to get Majora's Mask in February. So that's neat. Um, I've been having a good time with this. I heard there were some problems, I think save file problems, but I always just use suspend points.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if that's gotten me around the problems or whatever, but I beat the first couple of worlds, and this is really working. But it's 100% one of those games that you need an N64 style controller. I know it was painful for me last time discussing the controller with you guys, and you shared that little meme moment.
That picture is so fresh, Mark. Love it.
It's pretty good.
I was just like, I found that out of the blue. I'm like, that's a keeper.
It's good, yeah. But I will say the Hyperkin Admiral 64, if you can't pick up an actual N64 controller, I've been having a ton of luck and a ton of fun playing Banjo Kazooie with
Nice.
this. And I did go back and play a little bit of Ocarina with it just to get the Ocarina buttons. They just work on the C buttons, and Majora's Mask is going to be the same. So Banjo Kazooie, not a game that I want to tackle without an N64 controller, and luckily, it's been really good with one. So thumbs up on that front. That's all I'll say about that one. I want to hear about the games that you've been playing, including this first one.
Yeah, it's funny. I'll just mention the Banjo Kazooie. I did the first time I ever played the game was on the Xbox. Was it remaster version when
Rare Replay?
they bought Rare? Yeah, really love that version. They polished it up a little bit, and I didn't have to worry about an N64 controller because they just ended up putting all the controls there. And my save is still on in the cloud, I assume. And I never got past that damn trivia game with Grunty.
Oh, right.
Again, I'm like, I'm stuck, so I'll never get past that. I'm like, I'm screwed because I'm apparently
probably a guide. I'm sure
I had to buy a damn guide, Mark. Like a physical guide back in there. I'm like, holy crap! Oh yeah, it was bad because all the guides at the time were just horrible because they were from like the N64 era. So it was like these are horrible guides online. Like somebody's PDF didn't upload. Oh well. Oh well, it's still fun. Yeah, I really enjoy that game. Company Man is the game we got a code for. Thank you, Mark, for supplying that to me from our friends at Terminals. This is by developer Forest, and the publisher was Leaful. And this game is very cool. It's on everything right now, but I played it on Switch. And it's a very cool game because it takes the concept of like climbing the corporate ladder, but in a video context where like the boss battles are like lower middle managers. Like the first one you have to take on is like the intern boss, and he's essentially using interns as weapons. He's throwing them. You break the intern like machine that's holding him hostage. He gets mad at you. They're dropping interns from the ceiling, and they're exploding. So they're like basically your obstacles.
I love this.
The secretaries apparently have bad breath, so they're breathing fire breath. There's a guy with a floor cleaner that spins around cleaning the floor. You got to get the right fit. There's an old lady with a speaker, so I don't understand that part. I guess in Japan, this is based on Japan. It's very cartoonish, very cool looking, and there's this lady with like a speaker, like big speakers, and it explodes. I'm like, is that a thing in Japan where they have like announcements over the PA at offices? Maybe. But there's paper pushers, literally paper pushers. There's shredders, which are just big old wheels that will kill you. But it's a blast. It's just really fun. Your weapon is a keyboard. Fantastic. Love it.
It was like what was it, that movie?
Wanted. Wanted,
Wanted, where
yeah,
he hits
where he like
Chris
hits the
Pratt with a
guy.
keyboard.
Oh,
Yeah.
so good. Yeah, great take on that. And then eventually you get it powered up where it also shoots things, and you're basically trying to get promoted. And you go up the elevator and you do all this crazy stuff, and it's just a hoot. I just can't say enough good things about it. Your health is coffee. So you find these coffee stands, and it's like all these little comments. And I was taking little screenshots all over the place because the comments are hilarious. Just basically talking about big business and what you want to do. You want to get promoted, and it's just very. And then one of the managers has it out for you, so he's trying to sabotage you. And yeah, it's just a really well designed, very tongue in cheek. Controls are spot on, very fun, just really good. Adequate checkpoints, which is fantastic, because if checkpoints were like, oh, you have to go to the very beginning, no, it's very generous in that. And you do, I was wondering why I got money, and I eventually got to the barista stand where you can buy like more powerful coffee that then like gives you power-ups and stuff like that. So yeah, it's
Extra
very
little shot
cute.
of espresso in there.
Yeah, and it's definitely more
That's
of the
awesome.
Japanese corporate culture, and they just embrace that. So it's got a really cool aesthetic. Really, like I said, the art's great, and it's really fun. So I recommend this game. It's just really a fun action platformer.
That's awesome, man. I'm so glad to hear this game's good because I saw the trailer for it a while ago and was
Oh,
like,
I did
this
too.
just
Yeah, I
looks
was like, this
so
looks good.
kooky
Yeah.
and weird. And then when I saw that we were getting the code for it, I was like, I almost didn't want to give it to you because it looked so good. But then I
Aw,
was like, I gotta give it to Todd. Come on.
you wouldn't have been able to play Extraction Point, Mark.
That's it.
Extraction.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a good trade-off. I'm happy with the trade off, but I think I'll be picking this game up because it's so weird looking, and your recommendation is pretty great. So
Yeah,
uh, yeah,
it's good for anybody to play. It's very good,
it's
and yeah,
great.
it's very family friendly too. Except unless you believe like killing your coworkers, there's a bad thing.
That's fine.
Exactly, we've all wanted to do it, so it could be a fantasy for some people.
Yeah.
All right, next game, Mark, is a new release on Game Pass as well. You're seeing a trend, but I believe this is available. I think it's still exclusive to Xbox, but on Game Pass day one. I think it might be on PC as well. Regardless, it's like $30. Um, Nobody Saves the World is by Drinkbox Studio. Guacamelee, they've made a bunch of other games. Severed, I think, is another game that brought on Switch.
Hmm.
Great studio, a lot of PlayStation ties, but they brought their games everywhere now. They deal with tight mechanics, really funny gameplay, or a funny like storytelling and different like things like that. Really classic studio. Well, they made this game, and I didn't know what to expect, and they showed it, I think, at their E3 showcase in the summer. And this game is it's you're called Nobody Saves the World because essentially in this game you are a nobody, and the way you progress and go forward in this game is you essentially get skills that allow you to be different things. So the first thing you become is a rat who can bite people, and then you can poison them. You basically your attack is biting, so you're like
Sure.
causing plagues and things like that. But it's just like a Zelda, like a standard Zelda, SNES Zelda type, but beautiful like hand drawn graphics. So it's very cool with a cool aesthetic. Really enjoy it. And then you're basically using that form. You power up. You get little skills based on your little objectives you have to beat, like they're almost like mini power up quests that you have to do to get better. Like mice can go through small tunnels, they can do certain things, they can poison. Then the next thing you get is you get a archer, and the archer do things, but basically you're transforming between these different forms. They all have different capabilities. You level them up, and then they lock different skill sets. So they have like their primary attack, secondary attack. Very cool. And you can see the different like different skills and different missions you have to adjust that get you more XP to do more things to unlock more places. So it's that type of context that I've gotten to. I've beaten the first boss. It's very fun, very enjoyable. I think I've gotten 4 forms. The funniest form I've unlocked, and this is very early in the game, so it's not really a spoiler. You become a horse. And I'm like looking back, because like there's all these like horses. It's like the horse dungeon. I'm like, well, this is kind of weird. I beat the horse dungeon. I'm like, but these horses are just hanging around, and one horse is like a big exclamation point over around. I'm like, what does that mean? I keep talking to the horse, and he's like, I'm just a horse, and he doesn't respond to you. He kind of ignores you. I'm like, what is going on? And all the horses are the same way. They just don't want to talk to you. I'm like, okay, that's got to be something, because you got an exclamation point. If I've learned anything in video games, Mark, there's an exclamation point, I need to do something.
Yeah.
So going around different like mini dungeons and things like that, unlocking different things, more power-ups, things like that. It's very fun. Mark, I I become the eventually become the horse. So then as the horse, I go over to the horse and eventually becomes like a little romance.
Oh no.
So you like hook up, but it's PG.
Okay.
And that unlocks another thing. So it's like, oh my goodness. So I see where this game is going. But
Fantastic.
I have not gotten to the part where apparently this game really takes off. And the next part is you unlock all of these different persona because as yourself as nobody, you essentially can just push things. You're like, you're not even that strong. You get hurt really easily and you look kind of bland. And that's where I think the main character looks really bland. I think that's the whole point. You don't want to be nobody. You want to be somebody or something. Eventually, though, they have it. So you can intermingle your characters. You can get a horse that wields a weapon. You can become an archer that is also half horse. And you basically intermingle your abilities and your characters to do different things. I haven't gotten that far, but I was listening to a podcast they were talking about them. Like, interesting. And apparently it's like 3 or 4 hours in. I'm about hour and a half, 2 hours. So I think I'm at that point. So it's a pretty basic game up to this point, but I think that's where it really leans into it because I've gotten to the point now where it's like certain enemies can only be hurt by certain things. So that's when you have to really on the fly change your characters. So, cool. But it's fun. I really enjoyed it. I think it's well worth it if somebody wants just a fun Zelda-like that is not too difficult, but it has a unique take on just mechanics and how you approach things.
I have this one downloaded after you were talking about it this week, but have not yet had a chance to dive in because I wanted to really focus on everything else. So I'll get to it.
There's just too many games. It was just on my PC. Logan was using the Xbox to play Project Wingman, which I'm like, what is this game? And he told me about that's another game. If you ever want to talk about a weird like Japanese fighter game, it's on Xbox. Check out Project Wingman. Very crazy game. Oh well. Just an update. I beat Halo Infinite. I have nits that I have talked about before. I think this game eventually will be so much better as a co-op game because I think it's got some things that just require a second player to really push you forward. It felt like a campaign that overstayed its welcome. And it needed more people to make the fun happen. It was trying to be a Far Cry game with just not the variety of a Far Cry game. Like all of the side quests and things like that felt very rinse and repeat, nothing really unique about them. So I'm like, okay, so this is like Assassin's Creed 1 and we're going to get Assassin's Creed 2 where it's like they take all these pieces, but the mechanics are solid, looks great, plays solid. It just in the story, man, I'm like, great. My next game, and the next bad boss is another angry grunt. Perfect. Yeah. So don't. If you love Halo and the lore, you'll be, fat on the hog with this game. But if you're not, and you're just a casual Halo game player, especially when there's no Halo to date, and it's been 6 years since the last game, then just go in and shoot things. Have a good time.
Yeah.
And lastly, Mark, this game has taken over our household. Wordle. Now, everybody should know what Wordle is by this point. Your grandma knows what Wordle is. It is and people are annoyed, and it's like, Wordle. I'm like, it's a dumb game you play once a day.
It's great. I love Wordle.
It's fun. It's great. I mean, if you don't like it, don't play it. But I think it's just a fun thing that people can all talk about. My wife taunts me because of my strategy. My son says, "You didn't get that, Dad?" And I say, hey, I've always gotten these. Don't question my theory. And apparently, Mark, so Wordle is just have 6 chances to get a word right. It tells you if you got a letter first, if you got the letter, and then it tells you if you got it in the right place. That's all it is. So it's like Hangman with a little bit. There's
simple in concept, but as today's word shows, as we're recording this Monday, January 24th, so many people. I'm not going to give away the word. I'm not going to spoil it if anyone has by
2 days later,
it doesn't matter. But there are so many people that I saw today specifically being like, I couldn't get it, or I got it like me on the last shot. because it's such an obscure, weird word that like there's like memes and like BuzzFeed articles about like, did today's Wordle puzzle emotionally damage you? Let BuzzFeed know. Like it not only taking the world by storm, but like one of those things that just like you said, everyone knows, your grandmother knows. It's just it's out there, but they'll lull us into this false sense of security and then hit us with one of these weird obscure 5-letter words that it's like, am I gonna get this? I have one more guess left.
This is the world returning to a bit of norm, Mark, where we have these dumb things that just incorporate the world. It's like the dress meme where it's like, do you see a blue dress or a gold dress? You know, we used to have all that dumb stuff where it was controversy and we talked about it for 5 hours, you know, before we had like real world problems where, you know, invasions and pandemics. So, you know, I'm good to talk about dumb things and just have a good time with it and taunt people for being dumb because their strategy they use, because, you know,
I will say my strategy today, I was trying to locate where a specific letter was, and I threw away one of my guesses. And I shouldn't have done that. I should have just thought for a minute and just done it. And I think I could have gotten the word in 5 goes instead of the full 6.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been kind of beating myself up for like literally throwing that away to try to figure out where this letter was going to go. But I thought if I could figure out where that letter was, the word would come to me very easily.
Yeah.
But I should have, I really, like, knowing where that letter was didn't really make the word come any quicker. So I really had to still sit down and just be like, okay, what is this? And I got it. But like all day I've been like, oh man, I shouldn't have gone away from my strategy of like just getting the words and letting my brain little anagram it out. Like, and that's what I've been able to do so far. Out of 3 lines or maybe 4 lines. Today going all the way from like down to 6, it's just like, oh, come on.
Well, I'll make sure I share my results with you at the end of the day.
Yeah, so far I haven't really been posting them anywhere.
I haven't either.
I share them with my brother and Loren. That's it. Like I just my brother and I, we text back and forth every morning, just like, hey, what'd you get this morning? You know, just like how many? You know, it's like this little in conversation challenge that we have. But like I haven't been like posting it on Facebook or Twitter or anything. Like, but yeah, I guess I should if everyone's in.
Why not? You know, we can even put it on the Discord. Why not? Let's make it a fun time. I think, you know what? And if people don't like it, you know what? Get out of our Discord.
We'll start a Wordle channel.
I think that's appropriate. Yeah. And if my mom would be all over this. She's a Scrabble maven, so I got to get her in the loop. Of course, I got to tell her where to find it, because now they've got like Loodle, which is like lewd words that like Gary Whitta made one. It's like, and he's got, I mean, this is how he's going to make his billions, by making a Wordle like spinoff. So, Mark, Pokemon. Didn't somebody do a Pokemon Wordle?
Oh, most likely.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe I'm not opening an opportunity. Oh well, but you know, Wordle.
It's pretty great.
Yeah. So, know what else is great, Mark? The world of mergers and Activisions, as I said. That's the name of this episode, mergers and Activisions. So for anybody who's not in a hole, this is coming out Wednesday, so this has been news for about over a week by the time you hear this. Xbox acquired or is acquiring Activision Blizzard King for approximately $68 billion, which...
the B.
Yeah, the B. If you're doing the math, this is essentially... I think I figured this out. It's almost 20 Star Wars, almost 20 Marvels, almost 30. I'm doing the math. 33 Minecrafts, Mark. I guess 6 Zyngas. Wild. So almost 130 Zynga or Insomniacs.
So I did some math of my own, actually, because you know, you hear someone say like 70 billion doll hairs instead of
that's dollars. A lot of doll hairs.
Well, yeah. So that's the thing. If Activision actually paid 70 billion doll hairs, or if Microsoft paid 70 billion doll hairs for the Activision Blizzard King acquisition, the value, based on my very, very quick looking up of how much doll hairs cost in bulk, and then extrapolating that, the value of actual doll hairs would be $218,750,000 US, based again on the retail price for doll hair in bulk. That's a lot. That's still a lot, even if you're breaking it down to like paying in what you would consider fairly useless doll hair, is still like as much as some tech acquisitions. Like I was reading that another $217 million acquisition that just happened. Stripe, the payment company, just bought another payment company for like $217 million. And I was like, if they paid that in doll hairs, they would have just paid more for like what this tech company just bought this payment platform for. Like, that's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous amount of money. And $70 billion is just insane.
It is. Yeah, that is, it accounts for half of Microsoft's available cash.
Whew.
They have enough. It's crazy. Just Sony's worth like $280 billion, and that's just their market cap. They sell for more. Microsoft got this for a deal because Activision, their stock was not at a premium. It was well below. They paid a premium above what it was currently going for. So it is what it is, and so it's really hard to say. I mean, there's only 4 or 5 companies that are at this level: Apple, Google, Amazon, Microsoft. Is there another company I'm forgetting?
Well, some of the companies that were apparently in the running, though, or at least considered to buy these, I've been seeing different reports of like EA was looking into an acquisition. Now,
Really?
I don't know, in that kind of case, would it be a straight up buy like Microsoft is doing,
merger,
or would it be a merger or something like that?
Yeah.
But the thing is, we don't know what they were doing behind the scenes to try to get themselves out of whatever.
Purchasable.
Like if they were just selling it was like this sale or merger or something was going to happen with Activision Blizzard King. Like this was a done deal. It's just a matter of who picked them up. A lot of people are angry that Microsoft did this, but can you consider for a second EA buying Activision?
It gets nasty,
right? Another, and
Facebook was another
Facebook
company apparently. Yeah,
could be
Meta. Meta. Sorry, Mark. Meta.
Meta. There's another. So here's something else. Google could have. Tencent is another one that. I mean, if you look, the top public video game companies by revenue for 2020: Tencent, Sony. This is in order.
Mm-hmm.
Tencent, Sony, Nintendo, Microsoft, and NetEase.
2 big Chinese companies, yes, that buy, acquire, and then we don't really know what their end game is, except say, the first bite is free, and then here's energy and buy characters, I guess.
Right.
Is that their model?
So I'm not going to judge any companies or say that one company's better than another or whatever. I'm not going to even get like political or where this company's located or that company or whatever. But I think we can all agree that this could have been worse than going to Microsoft.
Absolutely. And it's a scenario where the company as it was, Activision Blizzard King, Activision Blizzard, it's actually a company of acquired or merged companies anyways.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Activision was on its own. Bobby Kotick was the one that picked them up and kind of got them where they were. Blizzard was an assortment of different people that formed that company. King was a mobile company. Activision was fighting off Vivendi for some time, and there was some weird stuff going on just corporately with the whole
Yeah.
bag. Activision goes back to the days of Atari, where they were actually an indie studio because they were mad at Atari because they wanted to get their games out there and get their creators some love. And so they had some games actually had the creator's name in them. So it's kind of a long history of just like really diverse companies that are not at all what they started off to be. They're a former
No.
shell. All the people that made those companies great have long since left the building, and that's a shame. And to your point, and that's where a lot of people have covered the specifics of this deal previously. But I think that the long end of this is something was going to happen with Activision Blizzard anyways, because all the lawsuits, we talked about it, and also just long term their strategy and what they were doing with their licenses and their franchises. It felt like they in the old immortal term of too big to fail. They were too big to fail. I mean, Call of Duty falls apart. I don't know what to do. I mean, that's where we were seeing it was going to eventually go that route. We saw Vanguard that didn't get the ratings, it didn't get the reviews that the critical acclaim. Still big, but eventually it's like it's not going to be number one anymore. It's going to decline, and something else will overtake it. Especially as we see where things are going with subscription services and other things as well. So, Mark, I think we both agree this is a good thing to improve the status of Activision Blizzard King, and this is going to take time to improve it. We know the deal will not get approved until I think 2023. Yeah. It's not going to get held up because it's a monopoly. There's just too many companies, Steam, everybody under the sun. So don't just forget about that kind of stuff. It's really more along the lines of then what's the outlay of this and how does this proceed over the next 18 months until it goes forward. So that's the fun part to really talk about, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. One thing I do, like I said, I didn't want to kind of get political with any of this kind of stuff, but Bobby Kotick seems to be out, so that's getting a big thumbs up from me. And we'll move on from there because again, it's been covered so many times. But
it's not like, and he's the biggest shareholder of Activision, I believe, right now. So you know what? Unless he did something horrible, like he killed a person or something, the inevitability of this, no matter what we wanted, unless he went to California jail for doing the things that he did, he's getting a gold parachute, guys. Yep. He made so much. He's making so much money off this deal. It's a shame that they still have to pay him, but they do.
Yep.
But he's not going to be part of this company anymore. It's a benefit to the employees, and hopefully it changes the face of Activision Blizzard for the good, and we get these companies back to a strong space, because Microsoft has completely changed the game in, I would say, the last 8 years, actually probably the last 6, to really say we are not going to meddle. We are going to help you be the best company you can be.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we saw it in the Power On documentary. You know, they learned from studios that they mishandled and that they shut down and that they wish they could have done something better, and they've learned from their own corporate mistakes, and they, so far, like you said, in the last 5-6 years, whatever it's been, they seem to be kind of taking that, like, you guys do what you're good at, we're going to do what we're good at, and we have the support, and you guys can rock off and do your own thing. So hopefully we just see that level of support with this stuff too. And you know, as far as the golden parachute stuff, it's short-term cringe for like long-term wins, I think is the way I'm looking at it. Like, yeah, it sucks. I wish it could play out better, and you want those kind of people to get their karmic comeuppance, but like maybe
he's going to need, you know, Mark, he's going to need some very good sunscreen in the future.
Yeah, you know, that's it. So like, yeah, it sucks, but like it could have kept going. So at least they're just like, you know what, pay him to go away. And yeah, that sucks, but like it's better than the problem consisting. And he, like, either way, if he's still going to be rich, no matter what, like at least he's rich and gone,
and he's not like, hurting people.
Yeah, that's it. Like, rather than, you know, like he can be rich and off on an island somewhere, or he could be rich and hurting people. So Yeah, just get them out of the way,
Yeah,
rich or not, whatever.
absolutely. And so I saw this tweet that was really cool talking about the difference between where Xbox was in 2017, and I can give some context even in 2017 in regards to their studios to where they are now. And it's funny
Mhm.
when I look at this in 2017, they had Rare, Mojang, which was, I would say, the first steps towards being a different perspective on acquisitions because people worried about Minecraft being acquired. And essentially, since then, it's been fine. It still lives on all the platforms and it's as strong as ever. It hit a trillion streams. I don't know. I don't know the numbers. But yeah, so I mean, we've got Mojang, Turn 10, 343, The Coalition, and Xbox Game Studios Publishing. So it's funny because Rare and I think 343 were the only studios that kind of survived. And then after that, that's when they started their acquisition. So I would say like 2015, they essentially only had two original studios,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because they lost
and
Lionhead, a few others.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
Bungie.
at
Yeah,
this point, everyone, myself included, thought that Rare was completely wasted
yeah,
because Sea of Thieves didn't launch until 2018.
correct.
So I
It
think we
was
may by 2017 probably knew about Sea of Thieves.
Connect avatars
Right, but it
and
was like
that kind of
Connect
stuff.
and like
Yeah,
yeah, like the
yeah,
avatars and stuff, and it was just
yeah,
like, come on, this is the studio that made Banjo and Conquer and freaking Goldeneye, and like they could poop in a bucket in the N64 days, and it would still sell 6 million copies. And Microsoft buys them, and they're making freaking avatars. Like, come on, you're wasting the studio. And like, luckily they've turned that around. But like 2017 Rare is not like, oh man, yeah, Sea of Thieves, and they're working on this new stuff, and they're like,
no,
oh,
it was
cool.
like,
This is
what are they
like,
going to do with them?
why did Microsoft do this to our favorite
Yes,
studio from a few years? Like, this is like 2017 is not a good situation
no.
at all.
Yeah, yeah, it's a world of difference. So the coalition was worried because they had to take over the Gears. 343 have to take over. Halo was in a weird space.
Mm-hmm.
Turn 10 was in a good space because obviously Forza is a premium brand. But yeah, it was a world of difference. So it was kind of interesting. Now though, obviously where they've come since then. Double Fine, World's Edge, I don't know anything about them. And Exile, renowned PC developer, which we still have yet to see a game coming from them. We know something is coming. There's another studio, I can't even tell, it's like a square.
Oh, the initiative.
Oh, the Initiative. Okay, the Initiative is their new quadruple A that we haven't seen anything yet, which is making a Perfect Dark. We know that
Yeah.
now. Yeah. We 343 already talked about that. Quill Cushion, Mojang. Undead Labs, which is the brand with the it's like a sim dead Walking Dead game. Mark, do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's a game people love, but it's like a sim with world building with zombies. Obsidian,
State
which
of
is
Decay.
fantastic. Yeah, State of Decay. They've made State of Decay 1, 2, 3 is on its way.
Yeah.
Obsidian,
Yep.
fantastic heritage game, made both Fallout New Vegas and KOTOR 2, compulsion games, which We Happy Few, which people didn't love, but I think they've got promise. We don't know what they're doing next. Ninja Theory, Hellblade.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So some of these are those studios that like they've had like cool concepts or cool
yeah,
things in their games that it's like with Microsoft money and Microsoft time, I think this studio could knock out something really special. But like
absolutely.
as an indie studio or a small studio, like they probably had to rush this thing out and get it out at a certain time, or they were going to go bankrupt and everyone was going to lose their job. So like, yeah, some of these studios, it's like I don't know, have they done much? But it's like, oh, they like there's something there that it's like they're like this little ugly duckling that's just going to turn into this beautiful swan because now they have time to focus on becoming a swan. It's great.
Absolutely. So yeah, and then Playground Games was one of the game we knew they were going to buy them eventually for Forza Horizon, and we've seen that where that plays out. So and they're going to make the next Fable, which is really cool. So then we already talked about Bethesda, Activision Blizzard. I mean, Mark, this is where it gets exciting because essentially most of these studios don't make games anymore. They basically support Call of Duty.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. and I will say this. So Treyarch, they were a heritage studio that made a lot of. I think they did what Tony Hawk games. They made. I'm trying to remember what they did, but they were basically making other games other than Call of Duty. Raven Software, man, they made some cool games. They made a Wolfenstein game, and I'm like, I
Mm-hmm.
would love it if they made another Wolfenstein game because we know that studio. Blanking on the game. Uh, shoot,
Which one?
their Bethesda game.
Which
Raven,
studio?
the one that made Wolfenstein, the most recent one. Um, it's on
Can't
this list. Machine
remember.
Games, Machine
Yep.
Games. They're making the next Indiana Jones game, so we could
Yeah.
get Raven to come back to make Wolfenstein. They made the Wolverine game I loved, and they also made Hexen, which Phil
Right.
Spencer
Phil
mentioned,
Spencer specifically called out. Yeah.
which is really cool, like Wolfenstein Magic game. Or sorry, Doom Magic game. Very cool. High Moon Studios made the cool ass Transformers games, the War for Cybertron games.
Right. Shoot.
See,
Yeah, they were awesome.
yeah, Infinity Ward, known for Call of Duty, Toys for Bob, Skylanders, things like that.
Yeah.
Beanox made some awesome Spider-Man games. Sledgehammer
Yes.
Games made, I believe they were the team that made the Dead Space games. They came
Oh,
over to Activision. Yeah,
right.
Digital Legends, don't know them. Shanghai Studios, don't know them. Solid State Studios, don't know them. But Blizzard, Mark, Diablo, Warcraft, Hearthstone, Overwatch.
Yep.
One of my favorite the dwarf game. What is it called? The dwarf game? I'm trying to remember them. You have little dwarfy guys. They made Rock and Roll Racing. They made Bloodstone. Blood. I can't remember. I love the game. It was a cool game that
Sorry, I'm
came out
still
on
stuck on the
PC
dwarves.
and
Yeah.
SNES. But yeah, and then King is mobile.
Yeah.
Just think about those games, Mark, that we could get from these studios if they don't have to make Call of Duty games every 3 years. They've got so much support now. They've got so much more money. They can really shoot for the moon.
And that's the thing here is right now we're looking at like can some of these now support studios make games again and let's say Infinity Ward focus, but like we could also get a Call of Duty game from id,
Mm-hmm.
maybe, like it, like that seems to be a possibility if Microsoft owns all of this, right? Like, yeah, that's crazy. That's like we could
Yeah,
get a Skylanders game from Rare, right?
or from Double Fine, or
Right.
pick a studio you want to
Yeah.
do. Somebody that says, "I've always wanted to make a." Okay,
Yeah. That's wild. That's exciting.
yeah, it's really unique when you look at the blend of their capabilities, the type of games they can make, and it essentially fills out everything,
Mm-hmm.
every genre. Um, if you want to make another Halo or Gears, like non FPS game, somebody else can do another version of those in a different tactical or strategy mode. If you want to do a weird Fable spinoff, you can. To your point, Mark. I mean, somebody wants to bring back Viva Pinata and put their own spin on it because I think that could have been a huge franchise for Microsoft. It just was at a point, and it's like they didn't know what they wanted to be.
Yeah.
So when we look at this list, Mark, and we think of the possibilities, is there anything you're like yearning for? It's like we haven't had X in so long, or I really want this to come back, or I really want a different take on X, considering just all of the IP that they own and wherever they could go. So a Microsoft existing
Yeah.
studio could do something with one of their IPs, and I looked at the games. I mean, that could come: King's Quest, Space Quest, and this is this old Sierra library. Leisure Larry. Nobody wants to make the Leisure Larry game. I mean, there's a broad library. There was a game called Metal Gear, I think, back in the day. Not Metal Gear, but it was called A Glitch in the Works. It was a fun, like, robot combat game. They have a huge, deep library of games they used to make until they decided to stop making new franchises.
Mm-hmm. For me, I'd really have to go and get a full list and really look into some of these of like, what have I played before? But right now, because it's on my mind, and I think this leads into famous Seamus questions kind
Mhm.
of from our Discord channel. So famous Seamus asked a few questions. The first one: what Activision Blizzard game will you play first when they all come to Game Pass? Um, and that kind of, I don't know, kind of leads. So I'll go with your question first, and I would love to see. I mean, you started off with it: Guitar Hero and Skylanders. That's it. That's what I like. I that they're two franchises that I want right off the gate. Like let's bring those back. Whether it's a collected edition of Skylanders, like you said, with everything kind of unlocked and just go, or they release Skylanders on Game Pass, free to play, and they have some like DLC digital, like unlock this character. You don't have to go out and buy a toy, but for like $2 or $5 or something, you can get, Eruptor, or for this, you can get this pack of like 5 different Skylanders for $20. Like we see it happen in Fortnite. You can buy skins, you can buy costumes in Minecraft. Like this stuff works, and Microsoft knows how it works. Let's just do it. So I think that's the way to go. So I want to see that, and I want to see Guitar Hero. So on to famous Seamus's question though: what Activision Blizzard game will you play first when they all come to Game Pass? I'm hoping that these games go to Game Pass, but if they don't, I'm hoping. Really kind of leads into a second question. I'm hoping some of the old Spider-Man games come, like the Beanox,
Mm.
like Shattered Dimensions. I'm hoping that kind of stuff comes to Game Pass. So Todd, on his first question, what Activision Blizzard game will you play first when they all come to Game Pass?
Oh
Mine's going to
my
be
god.
Spider-Man. What's yours?
Holy cow. I do like those old Spider-Man games. I love the Shattered Dimensions. Those games I thought were fantastic. It's like how far back can it go? What can they grab?
That's it.
Wow, that's a hard question because I'm looking at just their past catalog, and they did so many licensed games back in the day. So
So
Mark,
I will say,
okay.
while you're thinking about it,
Yeah, okay.
I looked up the Spider-Man licensing today
Mhm.
because so many people associate Spider-Man now with Sony. Sony does not have exclusive rights to Spider-Man as a character. They have the rights to those games that they produced, but Spider-Man still shows up in the Lego game, still showed up in Ultimate
Mhm.
Alliance 3 for the
Correct.
Switch, which is an exclusive. Yes, he was in Avengers on PlayStation only, but that was, again, one of those specific licensing marketing deals. Sony doesn't own the rights to Spider-Man. Marvel does right now. It's not tied to any specific game publisher. So Microsoft could be like, okay, well, cool. Here's some money, Marvel. We're going to re-release
Mhm.
Shattered Dimensions and all these old Beanox games. Like that is entirely within the realm of possibility. It is not a nightmare situation like GoldenEye or something is. This is a possibility.
Yeah, it's weird because I don't even know who owns the rights. They publish those games, Mark. I don't know who actually owns like when they got the rights to do it. I don't even know who owns that rights. That's the problem with licensed
Mm-hmm.
games, right? Because it's like did the Marvel property, like Marvel, the actual like entity within Disney, say we would license you, we would give you the rights to republish those games because they're
It
always
seems
like
it
they
seems like that's how it would
expire.
work. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Disney would be cool with it to a certain extent. I don't know. Maybe they don't want to muddy the water. But a game that meets that, Mark, so I'm going to give you two. Ultimate Spider Man. It's a game
Oh,
that
hell yeah.
I
Love
think
that
is
game.
one of my favorite Spider Man games because it nailed the comic, and the actual gameplay was fantastic. But it's
Mm-hmm.
like hardly anybody played that game, and I thought it was really well done. But I think that would be the Spider-Man game to bring back because
Mm-hmm.
it fits kind of like the Ultimate Spider-Man for Peter Parker today versus like some of the other ones. Was like I don't even know what this part Peter Parker is in Shattered Dimension. He's kind of like just a spin-off or something that doesn't exist. And then you know it's kind of interesting because I loved the old Pitfall games. I don't
Mm.
know if there's a good Pitfall game, but if they could bring back a Pitfall game, because I think there was like an SNES Pitfall game, that would be a lot of fun. And I would that's that even goes like who would I want to see come back? Pitfall. Bring back Pitfall. I think you're going to do so many fun things with it, because I think of like Spelunky, kind of looks like Pitfall, but that would be like just a fun, really cool action adventure game that could do a lot with. So I don't know. I'm looking through. There's so many games, but they did so many licensed games. That was like half of their like
Yes,
catalog.
that's a big problem, right? And so, like I said, I looked at the Spider-Man ones. So, Famous Seamus's second question: what do you think the chances are of Microsoft managing to get the old Spider-Man games on Game Pass, or even get Beanox to make a sequel to Shattered Dimensions and call it Spider-Verse Shattered Dimensions, include Miles and Spider-Gwen? He thinks that would be awesome. I think that would be awesome. I'd love to see it. Like I said, I think the possibilities or the chances of them managing to get these old games are pretty good. Now, whether they're allowed to make a new game, I'm not sure. Then you're getting into new games with Sony's and how's that working or whatever. But maybe that's the way to do it, is a Spider-Verse game. Shattered Dimensions. This is a complete other version of this, and here's how it's going to work. And Sony's Peter Parker and Miles are over in that corner in that dimension and whatever. But I don't know the possibilities for that one. Not sure. Possibilities for the old games, I think, pretty good. I'm hoping are fairly good.
Yeah.
You
I
kind
mean,
of
if
agree
they
on
can,
that, Todd?
I mean, if they, and it just makes me think of like Marvel. It's like the Marvel Ultimate Alliance, those games, they've had so many struggles with making it good. And I'd like to bring those games back, maybe some polish. I know they had a deal with Nintendo to do 3. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of like, that's the licensing perspective on it. They did some X-Men games as well, and I just love Marvel overall. And they also made some like 007 games, Mark, like GoldenEye Reloaded. They made some X-Men James Bond games that you can no longer play because of licensing rights. So bring some of those James Bond games back, because there's not one that actually anybody can play right now. Go to whoever owns the rights, which I think is Amazon now. Say, hey, let's make James Bond games again. I know, it's crazy.
Amazon owns the gaming rights to Bond, really? Is that who owns it right now?
Well, Amazon bought James Bond, but they still have to deal with the Broccoli family,
Okay.
who apparently, it's a long. One of my best friends is a huge Bond fan, and it's kind of a crazy nonsense right now. But that's the problem. We can't play a James Bond game.
Wild. So the third thing, Famous Seamus asks, do you think Call of Duty will become an Xbox exclusive after Sony's contract with Activision is done? I don't know. I really don't know.
I don't know either.
It makes some sense for the Call of Duty bros that buy Call of Duty and a football game every year and call it a day. Like, is that the thing that finally, I saw a report today that said like some analyst was estimating that PlayStation will sell twice the amount of PlayStation 5s than Xbox will sell consoles this year.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, would shutting down Call of Duty on those consoles knock 25% of the PS5s down? Would that finally, make these people say, yeah, okay, cool. Well, Call of Duty's on Xbox, so I guess I'm going to Xbox. Like, is that the thing that's going to do it? Or do they want to try to sell Call of Duty in the most places possible to get as much money as possible out of as many people and whatever, right? It's such a tough call, but I could really see an argument for saying Call of Duty is home on Xbox and just suck it up and buy a friggin' Series S. Like,
it's weird because people always say nobody spends X to do X, but I always says, if you hear what the CEO of Microsoft says, he could care less about consoles. He understands it's a way into it. Yep. He sees beyond consoles, and that's what Microsoft has been since the days of Steve Ballmer's. They believe in the cloud and subscriptions. Ultimately, what they want to do is sell subscriptions, and you know what? At maximum, Xbox has sold 80 million consoles. That's not going to get them to 8 billion or 4 billion or whatever. It's a small number. It's a cash cow right now. It does what it is. They want to sell subscriptions wherever they can get people to go. They want to be on as many screens where you can play and pay as you can. sure, it's a short-term plan to get revenue and build up their coffers to do whatever X they need to do. And that's why they offered $70 billion to do this, because they want content. Content is king. Consoles are kind of, as much as we love them, they're kind of in the back seat. We're going forward in a world, and this puts a lot of people on a notice to say, you need to be on screens. The device you're on kind of doesn't matter anymore. Kind of like you get your Blu-ray disc or whatever. People used to care about that stuff. Now they just want to, like your son, Mark, wants to watch Bluey. Here's on an iPad and a TV screen, whatever. Yep. Use Apple TV. And quite honestly, you got a Roku. There's a million different services on a Roku. Yeah. Apple TV, there's a million different services. So I don't know. I just think it's short-sighted to say, it's just go exclusive. I'm like, well, then you're shutting out people from, is that good for Call of Duty to say you can only play it here? And then you say you got to have a $300 to $500 box. Xbox doesn't want to sell hardware, because to them, it's just more things they have to worry about. Can they get enough out there? Can they advertise it? Can they do this stuff? So I think it's kind of silly to say that's their end game. No, their end game is, I don't want to have to deal with hardware anymore. The only thing I want to worry about is maybe selling you a controller, and that's it. So I don't know. It's just silly. And if they do want to do it, that's fine. I bought an Xbox One to play Tomb Raider because it was an exclusive. I didn't cry. I didn't say, "Oh, it's not fair. Screw you." I'm like, that's what I got to do. I'm a big boy. I know it's business. Xbox doesn't love me. PlayStation doesn't love me. Nintendo doesn't love me. So yeah, I don't think it really matters if it happens. Oh well. Warzone most likely will still be on there, because are they going to yank Warzone off of a screen where Game Pass isn't available, on mobile, on all these things? Come on, it's just silly. Yeah,
that's it. I think if anything happens, it will be pretty far down the road. Like I don't think for even like this console generation we'd see them saying like, hey, this whatever next version of Call of Duty is not going to be on PlayStation. Like, yeah, I can't see that happening immediately, but and I don't think they'll do that. I want to just say that up front. Like, I don't think they will actually do that, but I could see a business argument for doing that, of like, Game Pass or Xbox is the only place to play Call of Duty. That is how, again, that is like, Todd, you said that is how you get subscribers. That is how you get people. That's the content that people want. When you say The Witcher is only available on Netflix, or Ted Lasso is only available on Apple TV, and every friggin' person's talking about Ted Lasso, guess what you're subscribing to? That. So if they can knock out an absolute, Joe, forgive me, banger of a Call of Duty game in a few years, and they say, guess what? It's available on Xbox and Game Pass. Sign up. Like, I can see that as making business sense, but I don't know if they will.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing, because ultimately you could say, you know, what makes more sense to, we're going to leave it. And Microsoft, I think, is trying to leave out some olive branches, because they just want to not make enemies at this point. Their enemies are going to be Apple and Amazon and Google that play bigger and are bigger than the little fish, which are Nintendo and PlayStation. So ultimately, if they can have places to get Game Pass on, why would they want to piss off potential places to play their games and have those? You got to maintain relationships. This isn't the old day where, you know, Crash Bandicoot goes out and says, blah, 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 you know, whatever. That's kind of dead, which is funny.
Boy.
Exactly. Yeah. Those days are kind of over, because everybody's a big company. And, you know, this announcement hurts Sony. But Sony is, you know, good for the gaming industry. Nintendo's good for the gaming industry. Xbox is. We don't know what Google and Amazon are. So to your point, we just want to make sure we are leaving an olive branch. So ultimately, the biggest comparison becomes, Mark, would you want to pay $70 for Call of Duty, or do you want to get it for free, part of your Xbox subscription? It's kind of a no-brainer, right? It's like, you can buy it for $70 on there, but guess what? You could get it for free here. That is kind of the no-brainer marketing that just pays off more so than, because eventually you say, well, crap, I can only afford $180 a year. Well, then get Game Pass. and then maybe get the exclusives on PlayStation where you can't, you're good to go. So own both boxes, or eventually you want Game Pass on PlayStation, you'll get all the Xbox games on Game Pass. You won't get the third party, because guess what? That's a nightmare to get, because those games are also sold on PlayStation. But I could see that eventually being the long tooth. And same thing with Nintendo. Nintendo is a smart company. They're not dumb. They see the writing on the wall. When everybody else is in a subscription model and Nintendo's saying pay $60 for Kirby, moms hold the purse strings.
I love that you're going straight after Kirby for that too.
But still, come on. So it ultimately becomes a value equation. Essentially, you have to say after time, it's like Nintendo is no longer a good value compared to everybody else. Yeah, they make great games, but so does everybody else. It's not like trash and perfection. It's like essentially Nintendo has to realize the market is training and they can't hold it back. Everything is subscription. Video games are the only medium now, Mark, we have that is largely not in a subscription service. And those days are numbered. Nintendo cannot hold this off forever. We could say so much has changed in the last 10 years compared to the last 200 that Nintendo's been there. Just like, do they want to be IBM, where they're still selling, typewriters, or whoever it was selling typewriters back in the day? Or do they want to be the company that's forward thinking our IP will make more money on an annual basis by not selling $60, but selling $300 in subscriptions a year to get all your family their games? That's a smarter play, and it keeps people entertained, because then it's like, once you buy the game, guess what? You don't have to say subscribe, but once you are renting the game, you have to say subscribe. So yeah, it's a long game that we're into this. Xbox is pushing the industry more so than anybody ever has in this way, and they are a game changer, and they could buy everybody. So it's going to be interesting to see where this all goes.
Yeah, absolutely. We're in very early stages still, which is crazy, again, considering the change between 2017 and now, but we're still in very early stages of watching all of this play out and how exactly it's all going to end up. So I'm looking forward to the next few years and seeing how some of this stuff goes.
Absolutely. So this was a lot of fun. It got a little crazy with where we're going to go. We might see Spider-Man come back. Who knows, Mark? You know what? It'll be fun. I want a Peter Porker game. Make Activision make that game, and we'll be all in like Flynn. Because nobody's making that game.
You know what? That'd be hilarious, because it is, again, a very different take on Spider-Man, and could add a kids game to Xbox's portfolio. Like, hell yeah.
Let's see that game.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well, very good. Well, we had a lot of fun. So, Mark, tell people where they can find you on the interwebs.
Well, you can find me at _Canardian on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. You can find me on Xbox and Switch at just Canardian. There we go. Nailed it.
Excellent. You can find me on Twitter at Toxtra, having fun, poking the bear at times, and that's a good time. Making fun and having a good conversation with the world as it speaks, and making fun of certain sports athletes who don't vaccinate. But if you want to game with me, I'm Spartyon98 on Xbox and Switch, and Spartyon1998 on PSN. So, Mark, we survived another episode. We had a good time. We have some cool guests coming in 2022. I cannot wait. So we'll see everybody in 2 weeks. And as always, Mark, thank you for joining. It's been a pleasure. And as always, it's always better to game together.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.